Figure it out there. Morning, folks. Welcome aboard. Just get you up on the big screen. Morning, folks. I see Facebook seems to be restricting me again a little, folks, because yesterday's video didn't share very well, and it was quite a good video. So I'm quite surprised about that. It would appear that Facebook's limiting me again. So if you can, please share the video. That's all we ask that you do. Okay. So anyway, welcome aboard. That says up over the 100 mark. So it's Indytruck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast, wet, and 16 degrees. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look at your own bloody window. Alright, let's go on with the news review of the 5th of the 7th, 2022. Better note you and me as yesterday. Okay, Tuesday started with the attempted promotion of Anna Sarwar as a potential leader in Scotland and the Rags. Mr. Sarwar's speech at the Fabian Society in London sees him claim Labour are making a comeback in Scotland, and his blueprint for a better Britain is front page news. So what's Sarwar's big idea for a better Britain, which will see Scots abandon the idea of independence? Scrap the Lords, a Labour policy since 1910, never going to happen. Aye, that's right, Labour have been saying that they'd scrap the Lords for 112 years. Sarwar's idea is to replace the Lords with an elected Senate of Nations. You never heard so much pitching all your life. Right, what would be the point? Let's look at this. What would be the point of replacing the House of Lords with a Senate of Nations? Huh? What would be the point? Instead of having some old carpet slipper drunks and has-been politicians in there, you would just have misrepresentation of the people of Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland again, because England, having the biggest population, would have the biggest number of elected representatives in that Senate of Nations. So it would just be a carbon copy print of the House of Commons and widening the democratic deficit across these islands. So there'd be absolutely no point of it. Right, so there'd be more English senators than what there'd be Scottish, Welsh and Northern Irish senators combined. So it would just be a carbon copy of the House of Commons. The other thing that Sarwar wants to do is create a committee where a committee of national governments, where of course once again England would be dominant because it's got the biggest population, and we'd still all be dragged down the road of whatever England wants us to do. And the other thing he wants to do is make it a legal requirement that the English government and the Scottish government work collaboratively together. So basically what he wants to do is legally tie Scotland to whatever the hell England wants us to do, because once again it's the bigger population, they'll have a bigger share in the Senate, bigger share in the bloody Parliament, and it wouldn't make any difference. So Sarwar's blueprint for a new UK, and this is what the press are trying to promote him as a leader for, is to give us less Devo. No fixed wounded Devo, as has been portrayed in the press, but to actually handcuff the Scottish Parliament with legal requirements to work with the Westminster Parliament. Okay, so meanwhile, while Sarwar's pontificating pish in London, where nobody's got any idea who he is, Sarwar's boss is killing off Scottish Labour's voters base by ruling out a return to the single market. Now, the only escape from the Brexit madness left to the left-leaning people of Scotland, because remember we are a left-leaning social democratic nation, is independence. All right. Starmer also alienates half his own voters in England. So there's a wee tip here for Ed Davy down there if the Lib Dems want to make a revival. all Davy has today is running on a campaign of rejoining the single market and the customs unions in that road. And we should see the Lib Dems become the third biggest force in that parliament again. Because Labour are arsing it. The Tories are done. So all Davy has today is say that he'll take us back into the customs union and the single market, and he's going to win a win of Tory and Labour voters down that road in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers, right? Right, also in the rags, a £2 billion black hole in Scotland's budget. A load of nonsense, of course, but if funding for Scottish services do come up short, it won't be because of the tax base, it'll be because the UK government has decided to send less of their own money back to us, because we always get less back than what we send down. So, but the thing is, there can't be a £2 billion black hole in the Scottish budget, because Scotland legally has to have a balanced budget. So if there is a shortfall in cash to pay for some public services, hello Mr. Milligan, you're supposed to be on holiday, get off. What do you call it? If there is a black hole in the Scottish public service spending, then it's because Westminster has cut the Scottish budget. All right. Right, and the wacky story in the press is in the Herald. The Herald claims that Scotland ditching Trident after independence would they make it more difficult to get into the EU. You never heard so much crap in all your life. But after all, Project Fear Mark II is well underway. So much for nobody going to have a plebiscite election or a referendum, because the mainstream media seem to think they're definitely going to be having it, because there is Project Fear Mark II underway. Right, so apparently ditching Trident would see the EU shun Scotland. You never had so much passion in your life. Scotland is something that the EU desperately need, and that's oil, gas, and weens of energy. Right, moving on, Tuesday, and the Chris, the drunken groper pincher story has Bojo in trouble again. It would appear Bojo knew he was a pervert before he appointed Mr. Pincher to government. This could be the end of Bojo, but we'll get a wee bit further into that a wee bit later on Tuesday, alright? Also Tuesday, and the evil one, Priti Patel, wants the fuel protesters clamped down on. The evil one is not chuffed that the people have got off their arses to do something about the rampant profiteering in the fuel/energy markets. Now, civil disobedience has started, folks, but civil unrest is coming. When people can't fill their cars to get to work, and can't, due to the cost of living crisis, and can't feed their families, then with food price inflation running at 15%, then you can bet your arse civil unrest is coming. When you can't feed your kids, you get off your arse and do something about it. And that's what the fuel protests are the start of. So Priti Patel's no chuffed, and she wants protesters clamped down on, because she knows that civil unrest is bloody well coming. Because when you can't feed your kids, the thing you're going to do is either commit crime to get what you need, or you're going to turn on the bloody government. And as we're sophisticated enough these days to be able to interact with each other and create movements on social media, then civil unrest is what is coming. It's no far away. Okay, the end of empire isn't funny. But hey, listen, I've studied the end of empires, and this is exactly how they end. And civil unrest is bloody well coming, believe me. Whilst Tuesday, COVID hits the headlines here in Scotland. 1 in 15 Scots now carry the virus. The new variants of Omicron, of COVID Omicron variant, and it's BA4 and BA5, which is doing the damage. These variants seem to be able to reinfect the vaccinated. No restrictions are being introduced, so the death toll will rise and the killing fields are back. Right, the latest wave of COVID sees A&E in Scotland under severe pressure. A&E waiting times are up, leading to close to 9,000 people not being seen in the Scottish Government's 4-hour target. But to be fair to the mainstream media this time, especially BBC Scotland, Pravda, they were very balanced in the reporting on the situation in the Scottish NHS, because this one isn't a point scorer against the Scottish Government anywhere. Even the Pravda realised that this is happening right across the UK. NHSs right across the UK are under pressure. So the Pravda go easy and don't blame the Scottish Government for what's happening in accident and emergency. they're blaming it on COVID, which is exactly what the situation is, which is quite a wee bit refreshing to hear the Pravda actually tell the bloody truth. Right, moving on, Tuesday, and it's reported in the Pravda that applications to join Police Scotland have dropped by more than 50% in 2021-2022. In 2020-2021, 5,611 people applied to become police officers. In 2021 to 2022, it was only 2,237. Now, the Pravda are trying to tie this to recent pay offers by the Scottish Government, which the police chief called a derisory offer. But the decline in application is the 2021-2022 period has got nothing to do with the pay offer, because that's only been made a fortnight ago. What it's actually got to do with, believe it or not, is the fact that there are other career opportunities out there. With the end of free movement of people, there's a 10% shrinkage in the labour market, so people have better choice. So joining a public service like the police isn't always first choice. When there is work aplenty, then the public services always struggle to recruit. There's a couple of reasons for that. Generally because public sector wages are sort of middling, but the real reason for joining the public sector, of course, is for the pension at the end of it. You know, but other people look at it, well, I can make more in the private market and invest in a private pension. So public services, they tend to suffer when there is shortages in the labour market, all right. Also Tuesday, it's revealed that Lord Advocate for Scotland was not confident enough in the referendum bill to sign it off, so she referred it to the Supreme Court for a ruling. There's an Indytruck Davy says here. Indytruck Davy says, sack her. If she isn't confident in the sovereignty of the people of Scotland and our elected representatives in Holyrood to make law in Scotland, then sack her. Get shot here. Here in Scotland, the people are sovereign and our legal system sits above everything else. And she sits in the very top of that legal system to protect the sovereignty of the people of Scotland and the Scottish legal system. So if she's not confident in the laws that we are writing in the Scottish Parliament, sack her and replace her with somebody who respects the sovereignty of the people of Scotland and our legal system. So just sack her. The people of Scotland are sovereign, and our law is sovereign. And our Lord Advocate should never shy away from signing up on laws that are written by our Scottish Parliament. Because that Scottish Parliament is elected by us, the people, on a manifesto to write our laws and direct our country. So if the Lord Advocate has no faith in the sovereignty of the people of Scotland and our legal system, sack her! Moving on Tuesday, and the Pravda is reporting a recruitment crisis in Scotland's hospitality and farming sectors are especially hard. 10% drop in the labour market, as I've just said, and food's gone rotten in the fields again, folks. And hospitality venues are offering lower quality services due to lack of staff. Now, we are seeing the problems in the labour market because of Brexit, of course, and the end of free movement. Another English Westminster fuck up. The knock-on effect in the food chain is particularly going to be hard, and that is to blame for the 15% food inflation we are currently suffering. Brexit is undermining the UK's food security. Right, also Tuesday, the pound crashes to a new 2-year low. The pound is trading at $1 to $1.19 and €1 to €1.17. Okay, now the buying power of the UK is slipping as the currency flounders on the world market. Now, what currency shall we use after independence, they're going to ask us? Well, the answer is anything but the bloody pound, because the pound has had a 3% decline in buying power in the last year. Right? Also yesterday, 3% wiped off the stock market. And by the end of Tuesday, and into this morning, it recovered by 1%. Right. Also Tuesday, UK trade levels dropped to a record low, according to the Financial Times. Now, the drop in trade figures meaning we're no exporting bugger all, and we're also having to pay all the odds to import, sees more pressure piled on a currency which is predicted by the Bank of England, who are the custodians of the currency, to crash. And they're also saying that the UK has faced bankruptcy. I don't know how that can happen, since the UK has a central bank which can keep printing money. But we're almost at Weimar Republic levels of stupidity here in the UK. Debt levels are running at something like 80% of our GDP. Absolutely nuts. Was it 80? Never mind that figure, folks. I'll look it up for you for tomorrow. I've got half a dozen figures back in the book my head at the moment. All right. So there you go. The market, we're no exporting bugger all. It's costing us a fortune to import. The currency's bombing, and the economy's contracting at a rapid rate of knots. This isn't a recession that's coming, folks. It's a depression. And as I say, when people can't feed their kids, then civil unrest will come. All right, moving on. Tuesday evening rolls around, and Bojo the Clown is dealt another blow as Savage Javid, followed by Rishi Sunak, quits the cabinet. All right. Now, this is all over the Chris Duncan Groper Pincher story. Bojo had told the cabinet members he didn't know Chris Pincher was a pervert before appointing him to government. But Lord MacDonald of the Foreign Office blows that out the water by claiming that Bojo was briefed on Pincher while at the Foreign Office. He was briefed personally. Now, the resignations came because they can't stomach the going out to defend Mayor Bojo's lies. What's the big difference this time? They were happy enough to when Bojo was lying to the general public, but no happy when he lies to them. What did they expect? Bojo's a serial liar, a charlatan, and a crook. After Javid and Sunak quit, a plethora of junior ministers joined them. Bojo replaced Sunak right away with Nadim Sawawi, and other ministers' posts will need to be filled. Will Bojo find MPs willing to fill these roles? Don't know. Will Bojo survive down that road? Or will the Tory party do the right thing and get rid of him? The night of the long knives is coming, but Bojo will limp on for as long as possible. We know this was and we know this as he was on the telly last night, giving an insincere apology for promoting the pervert to the government in the first place. Liars, thieves, carpetbaggers, and new perverts on the government down that road. It doesn't get more corrupt than that. So let's have a look. We've got drugs, sex, booze on Parliament. We've got liars in Parliament, we've got thieves in Parliament, and we've got perverts in Parliament. Wow, what a bloody place it is down there. Jesus Christ. I mean, one thing we can say about Bojo is he hasn't half-wrecked standards in public life, eh? Jesus Christ. Right, moving on Tuesday. And it's clear the press barons have turned on Johnson. Even the BBC have turned. Nadine Dorris won't be pleased. Will they sell off the BBC the way they're selling off Channel 4 for holding the government to account? I'm not so sure. What we do know but is Bojo's days are numbered, alright? So, yesterday was the start of Bojo's real demise. The press barons had all turned on him. Right. So, he round up. The pound's fucked. Labour market's busted flush. COVID's on the comeback. And Bojo's still the worst thing to happen in UK politics since Margaret Thatcher. It's a bloody disaster. But he's also a great recruiting sergeant for Scottish independence, all right. So, are you yes yet? I would bloody well hope so. Let's move on to this morning and see what the rags have got to say, won't we? That's ought to be bloody well hilarious. But I'm going to jump between the Scottish and English rags this morning because the lunatic right-wing rags don't get a mention in Scotland this morning. So we're going to jump across. We'll do the Scottish papers and we'll jump across to the English papers, all right? So the Scottish papers, meltdown at number 10 and PM on the brink. The Daily Record has tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. The whole rotten lot needs to go. The National has all over for PM. Fate hangs in balance The Scotsman leads on. These standards are worth fighting for. What bloody standards are picture of Bojo? There is no bloody standards in public life. And the other one goes on, Sturgeon's, the other headline in the Scotsman, Sturgeon's top legal advisor refused to back plan. That's Dorothy Payne saying that she wouldn't sign off on this legislation. As Davy says, sack her. She was hand-picked to sign that legislation. Right, the Herald has Johnson on the brink. I don't think so. He'll just hang on for as long. It's going to take the Tories time to change their rules and have another vote of no confidence on them. The Eye has Endgame. Boris Johnson on the brink. The Metro has going, gone. Javid quits. Rishi Sunak quits. PM is still clinging on to power. The Daily Telegraph has Johnson hanging by a thread as Sunak and Javid walk out. We know why Sunak's walked out. We've just spoke about it. The Bank of England are predicting a currency crisis and potential bankruptcy for the UK. Well, guess who was the Chancellor when all this was done? That's right, Sunak. Right, what else we got? The Press and Journal goes on. Meltdown at number 10 as Johnson hit by a resignation storm. And so he was. Whacks of junior ministers. 2 more went this morning. Right, so that's basically the Scottish press. As you notice, there's no Looney Express there. There's no Mail there. So let's jump across to the English papers and see what they've got to say this morning, shall we? And we'll get to hear what the Looney Rag, the Daily Mail and the Express have to say. Because let's face it, they're the ones that have been told to turn on Johnson. So the Times has, same as Scotland, Johnson on the brink. The Daily Mail has, can even Boris the greased piglet wriggle out of this one? Now that's when you know the Mail has turned on him. They're calling him a greased piglet. You know, saying that, you look at his picture on the front of the Mail, he does look like a pig. The Telegraph down that road is Johnson hanging by a thread, same as up here in Scotland. The Financial Times says Johnson on brink as ministers quit. And the Looney Rag, the Express, this is the one I'm looking for. Boris fights on, declaring, I am now free to cut taxes. So that's how Bojo's going to try and survive this. He's going to get his new Chancellor to announce a wean of tax cuts, probably VAT to start with, and fuel duty. Right, the Guardian has PM on the brink after Javid and Sunak quits. Let's see what else we got down there. Let's a minute go. Finally, you know, so it's got a picture of Johnson. Finally, after years of backing talks at PM, Sunak and Javid wheel knife. Johnson doomed as lies over Pincher sex past exposed. But, you know, Javid and Sunak knew what Johnson was when they put him there in the first place. He's a liar, he's a thief, he's a crook, he's a shirker, he's a waste of space. And to round up, we always have the Daily Star. The Daily Star has Cabinet Ministers desert Pinocchio, curtains for Bozo. Rishi, we need decent standards. Savage Javid, the people deserve integrity. Brainless Rab, what? You got to love the Star. The Star's bloody brilliant, so it is. That's brilliant. Well, now listen, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you found it informative. I hope you found the delivery comical at times. And I know you guys can see the subtitles. Unfortunately, I can't see the subtitles, which is probably just as well, because I would piss myself laughing at them as well. Anyway, record viewing figures a day, 291. It's been a long time since we've been up there. Remember, folks, if you like what we do, if you don't want your money, we just want you to share it around and let others get the news, all right? So that's what I've got for you today. Remember, and this is for Big John Mellon, Davy says, partisan politics in your pockets. Get your eyes on the prize. The game's afoot. Learn your how ye gonies and get out there and win hearts and minds. Now, I'm just about to speak about the alternative media. When I'm finished this broadcast, I'll be going to Caledon Media to shoot the breeze with Oreo and Scottish politics and the wider situation in the United Kingdom. So you can get Caledon Media through your app, through its app. You just Google it, and Caledon Media will come up. You'll be able to hear me and Norrie shoot the breeze. I'll be going on for about 12. All right. So support the independent media, support Broadcasting Scotland, Independent Live, Caledonian Media, Through His Radio, support independent vloggers and bloggers, and the national newspaper. And if they've got a crowdfunder going, as Norrie has at the moment, if you've got a couple of shekels that you can throw in the pot to keep these things going, then please these guys do fantastic work. All right. Now, COVID is on the rise. 1 in 15 people have got it. So follow the guidance. Face coverings in enclosed public spaces and clean hands and surfaces regularly. That's the two remaining bits of guidance. All right. Now, if you're feeling a wee bit under the weather, mask up, folks. Mask up and think about social distancing. Tell people, stand back a wee bit, folks. I'm feeling a wee bit off. I don't want to give you anything. All right. So, and if you're still testing, please submit your test to NHS Scotland so we can keep an eye on how much this is in the community. Now, thanks for joining me today, folks, and we'll be back again today or tomorrow. Mind, share it around. Have a nice day. Thank you, Madam Director.